What is your name, and can you spell it? Spell your name for me, but
My,
pause between the two.
my name is Tamzin Malone. Tamzin Malone.
So, where do you live, and have you always lived here?
I live in Lafayette, Indiana. No, I have not always lived here. I've been here about 9 years.
Where else have you lived?
Lived in a lot of places. I'm originally from California, Northern California, please, differentiated from the other place. Um, we have lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and the Seattle area, um, several places in California, and Anchorage, Alaska, before we came here to Lafayette, Indiana, lured by Purdue University. All of those were school moves to a different school for my husband.
So, what would you miss most if you had to leave Lafayette tomorrow?
Oh, I actually don't, please don't tell anyone, but I really like it here. I would miss the sense of community and you know what? I like the town is pretty. Parts of it. There are parts that are not, but the downtown and the older areas are really pleasant. Tree-lined streets and older houses that are well maintained, and I like it here. I feel very much at home here.
What one or two words describe your 2020, and why?
Oh, well, I mean, pandemic and protests, the two P's. And why? Well, because
Can you rephrase my 2020 can be described in these two
my
words?
2020 can be described in these two words: pandemic and protest. COVID-19 is, always in the forefront of the news and of our consciousness and um, of our awareness and how we're doing things, how things are different in 2020 than they were. I mean, March 15th, March 13th, somewhere around in there, the world turned sideways. And at the same time, issues of police brutality, specifically against black men. Predominantly black men, just people of color in general, seems to have reached a critical mass, and people are not okay with it. So yeah, I think these are the. We thought that the fires in Australia might be the defining event of 2020, but no, I forgot all about those because they don't start with a P.
So, describe the moment COVID-19 became real to you.
Became real to me. Well, I still do not personally know anyone. No, that's untrue. I do know two people who have had it, who have tested positive for it, have relatively mild cases and recovered. I don't know anyone personally who has died from it, but early, I think we heard about it when it was going on in China, but that seemed, similar to Ebola. Um, that was something that happened elsewhere and didn't come to us, and then it did. But it seemed to me that, the news is exaggerating this, and it's really not that big a deal, and I'm going to look into it and see what I think about it. And so when I looked into it, it seemed they were not exaggerating and making too big a deal out of this. This is really a big thing. And that was, there wasn't a moment, but it was in mid-March that, or early March. I remember attending a meeting of a women's business group and feeling like this was probably March, the first week of March, feeling like, should we be doing this? Should we be gathering in this large group and sitting close together. Um, so I know it was definitely something that I was aware of early March, but yeah, it was when I looked into it and saw that, oh, medical sources, medical people are saying this is a big deal. So,
What? How did your daily life change at first, and how has it changed since?
well, at first, we closed the bookstore. Um, we immediately had to pivot from being a brick and mortar store that people come into and make choices in a physical setting to being completely an online business model. And that was, it was kind of like a little bit of whiplash. And still, it feels a lot like log rolling. Like trying to, instead of coming in and purchasing the books that we have on the shelf, now people are ordering books we don't have. So we order them from the book distributor that we work with. Um, we're not the only bookstore that had to do this exact same thing. So the distributor is completely overwhelmed. It's totally swamped. At the same time, Amazon deprioritized the shipment of books, so they're no longer giving you 2-day delivery for books. So a lot of people turn to their local bookstore. They tend to think that we are Amazon. So if the books don't arrive in 2 days, then now I'm getting a lot of phone calls. People say, well, where is my book? Well, it's not here yet. It is coming. But so our distributor is slower. People's expectations have not changed. So everything changed very quickly. Now we have, it's still different because we're open 1 day a week for 3 hours during the farmers market. But it's still a very different model. And to go back to, if we ever go back to normal, I cannot do both a full-time online book fulfillment business and a brick and mortar come in and browse and visit model. So it's going to be tricky to re-enter that atmosphere.
So how are you outside of work? How are you going about your daily routines in life? Are you what things have changed when you go out of your house, and how often do you go out of your house?
Well, interestingly, because we are perhaps not stable people, we thought it would be a good idea to sell our house and move during this pandemic. Actually, that all started in February, so the ball was in motion when the world went sideways, and we somehow moved. I'm sure there was a lot of cross-contamination and exposure during that, with the moving people and us moving things into the new house while that seller was still there. She allowed us to move things into the garage. So anyway, I didn't feel good about the sanitary. Not everybody wore masks all the time. Now that we are in our house, my husband, who is quite a bit older than I am, and tends to have bronchitis or pneumonia every winter. I feel like his lungs are a little bit weakened. He does not go out of the house very often. So grocery shopping and going out and doing things is mostly me. We always wear masks when we go out. And I'm trying to figure out how to get everything delivered. We now have prescriptions delivered. I've shifted all of the bookstore deliveries to my house so that I don't have to be here when UPS arrives. I'm in the bookstore every day for at least some period of time. I haven't had a day off completely, day where I didn't go to work, since about March 16th. So things are different. They're a little, my time is more flexible. I don't have to be here at a specific time, but I do have to get work done. So it just depends on when I want to do that. And still try to get the house unpacked.
What do you think your daily life's going to look like 2 years from now?
It's interesting to think about what life is going to look like 2 years from now. I hope that that some of the changes that we had to make on the fly, um, I hope that we can sort of craft a better world. That sounds a little hokey, but so previously grocery stores and things were open like until midnight or 24 hours, which seems a little bit ridiculous. I mean, what do you really need from Target at 2 a.m. or midnight? Stores have scaled back their hours, and I kind of like that. I hope that we keep that. I hope that my house is unpacked in 2 years. That's kind of iffy. We may not be finished by then, but I hope that we keep some of the changes that were useful. I feel like people are getting more sleep because they don't have to be necessarily up and at work at a certain time. Yeah, I don't know. 2 years from now, will we have the same person in the White House, or will we have a different administration? These are all unknowns.
So, in the challenge you see at work or in your community, what excites you about solving them now?
Challenges. Well, what excites me about solving these challenges in my community? Well, I see a couple of challenges for me in my business. The challenge of how to reopen safely, responsibly, still possibly keeping the robust online sales that we have. So how to balance the serving customers and providing a community space as we have done for the last 5 years. Figuring out how to do that safely is, I don't know if that's exciting, but it is a worthy challenge. And a problem that I think needs to be addressed is the relationship between police and community, and the militarization of police makes me feel uncomfortable, and I am very interested in seeing that get changed and be addressed. So that's something I kind of feel like walking down to City Hall and knocking on the door and saying, "Hey," not sure how they'd receive that, but letting them know that I am a middle-aged white Karen, and I'd like to speak to the manager. That's I think a good starting place.
So, to wrap this section up, just like we were towards the beginning, so this is what 1 or 2 words describe your view of the next 5 years, and why?
But one or two words to describe the next 5 years. Iffy. Well, I think we're kind of in a turbulent time. I think that things are going to change, and it remains to be seen in what way they change, in what direction, and if it's for the better. I think humans are, we're resilient. We're going to keep going, no matter what the situation is like. That's not the right word. I'm not sure. I feel like unsure and inevitable. Whatever it is going to happen, and we'll just roll with it.
What questions should I have asked you that I didn't ask you that you wanted to answer and share with the rest of the?
Well, I think obviously everyone should make a point of shopping at their local independent bookstore, wherever you happen to be. And if you listen to audiobooks, if that's your preferred way to consume information, Libro.fm is an excellent way to disrupt Amazon, basically. I just think that, everyone should be kind to each other and considerate of how can we best take care of each other. And I think that, precautions to not spread COVID-19 are kind of basic human kindness. I don't know if you should have asked me that, but that's what I want to say.